Here we go. Okay. Hello, and thank you for joining today's webinar, How Eavesdropping on Nature Can Keep the Planet Healthy. I'm Erica Logan, Senior Manager for Technology Assessment and Resource Development at the Global Electronics Council. I'll be the moderator for today's discussion. This is our second in a series of 4 webinars that will highlight new and important ways that technology is conserving and protecting our natural world. It is also closely aligned with GEC's 2021 Catalyst Awards program, which recognizes innovations in technology that advance sustainability globally. This year's Catalyst Awards theme is similarly focused on innovative uses of technology for conservation. Today's webinar features 3 presenters whom I will introduce in a moment, but first, a few reminders. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our website for people who are unable to join live and for sharing with your colleagues. Also, we are looking forward to a robust Q&A session at the end of the presentations. We encourage you to submit questions by typing them into the chat window. We'll get to as many as possible once the final speaker has concluded. And please note, all attendee lines have been muted. So beginning with an overview of our speakers today. Unfortunately, we've had a few last-minute speaker changes. Mr. Burhan Yassin, the Chief Operating Officer for the Rainforest Connection, is unable to join us. He is in Texas, where snow has caused many to lose power and water. We wish him and his family safety, and we will seek another opportunity to hear Burhan's fascinating presentation on how mobile phones, data analytics combined are helping us to save the world's rainforests. Equally unfortunate is the CEO of the Global Electronics Council, Ms. Nancy Gillis, is ill. The good news, however, is GEC Senior Director for Criteria and Category Development is a tremendous resource and willing to step in. So starting our discussion will be Ms. Patty Dillon, who will describe the Global Electronics Council and our commitment to sustainable technology and conservation. She will be followed by Mr. Niraj Swami, Director, Conservation Technology, Strategy and Enablement at the Nature Conservancy. And we'll conclude with Dr. Mohammed Hussain, Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at the University of California, Berkeley. We may conclude a few minutes early due to having one less speaker today. So with that, let us begin. Patty Dillon monitors the technology landscape to identify new opportunities for GEC and oversees the development and maintenance of sustainability criteria for products and services covered by the EPEAT ecolabel. Patty?
Great, thank you, Erica. And I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome participants to the webinar and to thank our speakers today for sharing their innovative projects that utilize technology for the health and betterment of the planet. For those of you not familiar with GEC, I'd like to just start with a brief introduction to our organization. Why are we here? GEC, we're a mission-driven not-for-profit founded over a decade ago with the goal of creating a more sustainable world by leveraging the power of large-scale or institutional purchasers to create a demand for credible, sustainable technology. We fulfill our mission through education of stakeholders on environmental and social impacts of technology, advocating for manufacturing purchasing practices that improve the health of the natural and working environment, and collaborating with public and private sector organizations to achieve impact at a global scale. At GEC, we're extremely proud of our efforts to support large-scale institutional purchasers in more than 42 countries, and for our EPEAT ecolabel, which is recognized as the leading global ecolabel for technology products and services. And as a measure of our impact, in 2020, large-scale purchasers reported over 2.2 billion, yes, billion with a B, worth of IT spend on EPEAT registered products. And I'll say a bit more about EPEAT registered products, what they cover in a minute or two. But we're very proud of our accomplishments and the impact we've had at scale. Next slide, please. So at GEC, we basically understand that market demand, the power of the purse, shall we say, incentivizes electronic manufacturers and service providers to design and deliver more sustainable, credible electronic products. So our goal is to support these large-scale purchasers to assist them in moving the market. We provide a range of free tools and resources to purchasers, some of which are shown here, including we provide sample sustainable procurement policies and contract language, sustainable procurement training, and we have a purchaser guide series that dive deep into some complex emerging issues of concern and interest to purchasers, such as labor and human rights in their electronic purchasing, how to purchase cloud computing, and soon we'll be releasing a purchaser guide on circularity, how to go from a linear production to disposal mode to creating more circular use of resources in the economy. Our flagship ecolabel program, EPEAT, we provide a searchable product registry. We provide benefits calculations that allow purchasers to measure the impact of their purchases, what benefit is being derived from their purchasing more sustainable products, for example, greenhouse gas reductions. And we also have a purchaser award program that recognizes the achievements of purchasers. So a number of available resources, and just a quick look at EPEAT on the next slide. Our EPEAT ecolabel is our flagship program, and it's currently our one ecolabel, but in 2021 we will be launching a new ecolabel for components. For example, sensors and other electronic components that would be found in electronic products, such as, furniture, toys, etc. Recognizing that there's a growing use of electronics in many different types of electronic products, that we can drive some sustainability there as well. But currently, our EPEAT ecolabel, we cover 6 product categories, as shown here. 5 of our categories are IT categories: computers and displays, imaging equipment, mobile phones, servers, televisions, and in November of 2020, we added our first non-IT product, photovoltaic modules and inverters. And then coming in 2021, we will expand EPEAT to cover 2 additional categories. One, in June, we'll be launching a product registry for network infrastructure. That's the switches and routers as well that are in data centers, as well as customer premises routers. And then also we're developing a product category for health and well-being wearables, smartwatches, fitness trackers, and other types of devices that are being worn by people to measure health and well-being. Next slide. So that's a bit about what GEC, what we currently do, and most of the stuff that I just focused on is about the procurement of sustainable technologies. But that's not all that GEC focuses on. We also want to ensure that not only is technology sustainable, but how can we leverage technology for global sustainability? And that's where this webinar series, for example, comes in. We're going to look today at how the technology can actually assist in conservation and conserving our planet, biodiversity, resources, etc. This is the first in 3 of our conservation series, and Erica will at the end tell us about the final 2. So I'm really pleased today to have our speakers that are going to be addressing the use of technology for monitoring marine environments, connecting entrepreneurs to solve climate issues. And unfortunately, as Erica mentioned, we were expecting a presentation on the use of artificial intelligence and other technologies to monitor and to alleviate illegal logging. but we'll try to capture that later. So with that, Erica, I'll turn it back to you, and let's hear from our great speakers on their use of technology to support conservation in our planet.
Thank you so much, Patty, for providing that overview and setting the stage for what I know is going to be an exciting discussion. So I'm pleased to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Niraj Swami. Niraj is an avid technologist and innovator with deep interests in artificial intelligence, cognitive technologies, and behavioral economics. Niraj has led applied AI and innovation initiatives at the enterprise level while serving as an advisor and board member for several AI-based startups in learning, business productivity, and healthcare industries. His passions for entrepreneurship, AI, and human-centered design have led him to advise and speak at various innovation events and government initiatives, including a global AI for Good recognition at the United Nations Summit. He is currently Director, Conservation Technology, Strategy, and Enablement for the Nature Conservancy and a founding partner at a Tech for Good venture firm. Niraj holds an honors MBA from the University of Chicago and a software engineering degree from Marquette University. Niraj?
Thank you, Erica. Great to participate in this lovely cold morning in Chicago, but hopefully everybody's staying warm and safe and sane all over from wherever people are joining. Let me navigate to the next slide real quick here. Okay, there we go. So as Erica mentioned, I am the Director of Conservation Technology Strategy and Enablement at the Nature Conservancy, basically playing a tech-centric innovator role, connector role to the work that the Nature Conservancy does. Nature Conservancy is a global nonprofit focused on 4 priorities. I'll talk about them in a second. We're a very science-based organization, traditionally started on the premise of protecting land and water, and how that has impact on biodiversity and climate, mitigating climate change. 3 years ago, we started a partnership, launched a partnership with Techstars, for the leading accelerators that supports and incubates and accelerates early stage tech companies. They have thematic accelerators where they'll work with specific areas, specific partners, corporate, nonprofits, government. With TNC, with the Nature Conservancy, this is focused heavily on sustainability. A big part of our work at TNC involves 4 major pillars. We protect land and water. We are driven to provide food and water sustainably. Tackling climate change is a big priority, and building healthy cities. The interaction between people and nature, backed with more than 400 scientists at TNC, is really how our thesis is developed around our work. We've got work in India, in Indonesia, all over the world, in South America, lots of it in the United States. Probably, I would say, one of the top 4, or if not 3, landowners in the United States by protection. A lot of it is based on using data, using technology, science to help understand how what we're protecting is driving positive impact on the other side. One area of the accelerator, or the work we're doing at TNC, is advancing it, especially our relationship with technology. We've seen the trajectory into how tech plays with any other industry or space, you name it, healthcare, human capital, wildlife. Conservation and sustainability also have a ton to benefit and work along with technology to accelerate our work. And this is a very strategic partnership for us and relationship for us, because it allows us to start accelerating how we experiment, how we learn, collaborate with emerging technologists, as well as folks that are trying to solve these key areas. What we know at TNC is how to work with 3 major pillars of conservation. We're known for our innovative finance. We do debt swaps, and we do some innovative finance deals to help buy strained land with things that protect them. Policy work, tons of experience working with policymakers, advocates, as well as framing new ways of structuring. policy. And then being a global network of scientists, conservationists, partners, enablers, we are a catalyst to scale. We don't just want to look at technology as a tool for conservation, as, hey, here's a mapping tool, let's map some things. Those are important, but the accelerator allows us to think about scale. How can we 10x our work? As part of that goal, we run one accelerator batch per year for 3 years. We had a break year last year with COVID. We're restarting, the final year of this accelerator model, and hopefully more fun engagement models to follow. Each accelerator is basically starts with a startup recruitment process. We work and talk to emerging tech companies, startups, folks that have prototypes, early stage products that want to engage with conservation, are already doing impact work in this space. Through a competitive selection process, which is through partners at Techstars, through interviews, through understanding the founding team, diversity, impact, as well as understanding the science and the impact on the climate, the sustainability side, allows us to then competitively select a handful of them, 10 or so, for giving them support on investment, mentorship, programming, investment, as well as the whole idea that TNC comes to the table. It's a 3-month accelerator program where we work with these startups, nurture them, help them learn the business skills of being a company in the sustainability space with Techstars, but also understand and focus very deeply into problems where we bring subject matter expertise to TNC. Our role is to really be, 5-pronged approach. We enable these startups and their teams to leverage our expertise. Like I said, we have more than 400 scientists at TNC, tons of conservation experience, folks that have been in the industry for a long time, have understood the trajectory of change and impact around multiple stakeholders. We leverage our network, internal as well as external. It's a great opportunity to pilot technologies. We've had companies that have had really strong prototypes, have come in, learned, refined, and even piloted technology. And most importantly, we also make a financial investment. A lot of those details are available online, which I'll share in a second. The next couple slides, I'll share a couple of really interesting stories that have a global impact, as well as are very keen on leaning in on emerging tech, electronics related driven products, to make our data around sustainability as a planet, as a society, more transparent. Next 360 from 2019's batch. It's a company focused on supply chain transparency. And they're not just making it transparent, they're actually helping folks at the edge. It's a global solution that works in places where technology is hard to reach, enabling palm oil supply chains, coffee supply chains, food as well as materials, supply chains to be more sustainable, transparent, and authentic. And the whole idea of reporting on SDGs, as well as the idea that you have ways to capture and trace from source to end, is a need that they figured out was ready for innovation. Their solution is an end-to-end platform. Again, bex360.com. Great team, great folks. They came in. What TNC was able to provide as part of this relationship was to contextualize some of the problem and also start looking at reporting. We do a lot of impact analysis at TNC around our work across the globe. We figured out some data models, some knowledge frameworks that work around capturing insights from the field and reporting them out to stakeholders in the business. That's a great cross-learning that happened as part of this 3-month engagement and beyond. We continue to partner with them even today. A lot of these engagements, as you see, as part of this accelerator, are a great touch point to get a company that's focused on, or startup that's focused on sustainability, to come and partner and work closely with an organization like TNC. And we do want those relationships to go beyond those 3 months of the accelerator. Here's another example of a company, Jibe. Jibe is focused on helping us understand water quality, especially understand the aquatic ecosystems. And that is an area where traditionally there's been a lot of satellite imagery that's been used They come in and they help us understand more by placing sensors and hardware products near the vicinity of the water body. And this is something that is all about quality. Data quality is better. It's more scalable. A lot of times there are certain water bodies, there's a lot of cloud cover on top. So satellite imagery has issues on getting more accurate, frequent readings. There's other ways to grab that. Satellites have matured and are advancing a lot in their own way. But having on the ground responses, on the ground data that is a little bit more easier to manage, administer, and procure in harder to reach areas is another innovation Jive's been able to really help us with. Jive is also one company that has gone beyond the accelerator and partnered with us in multiple pilots, scaling up, helping us learn about our impact on protecting land and water, as well as helping them think more about their technology use case and develop more innovation. Great relationships like this, they help us understand how technology is not just solving one specific problem, but these innovators have the key to really unlock scale and think about business models that align with sustainability. And we have sustainability models that align with business. That's really where the accelerator really takes off. Just to recap, we are going to make a call for new applications. They're opening up here now next week. Our focus stands on 4 pillars. 1, protecting land and water. 2nd, providing food and water sustainably. 3rd, tackling climate change. This is an area with a lot of innovation room this year and moving forward. Carbon offsets, tracing, natural climate solutions. These are some of the buckets that fall in that. Building healthy cities. I think we're seeing more and more of a relationship between where we live, urban areas, and nature. And how do we incorporate biodiversity in areas that are not just gray? There's some green infrastructure too. With these 4 pillars, we're looking for purpose-driven for-profit entrepreneurs who are excited to tackle some of these greatest challenges. Applications open on the 22nd of February, next Monday. The deadline is May 12th. We start the program September 13th. At this point, we haven't decided if it's going to be in person or remote. It's based out of Denver, Colorado. We've had teams that historically have traveled from all over the world to participate in this program because of the selectiveness as well as how TNC participates. We also have seen Techstars do a lot of virtual accelerators last year. And so we're comfortable with either of those approaches. We'll make that decision. The team will make that decision at the right time with the right knowledge. And then December 9th is demo day. Great event to wrap up this. 10 people, 10 companies come up and tell their stories of what they've learned, the progress they've made, where they're heading. A lot of investors, stakeholders, conservationists, folks from TNC, internal, external partners attend this event. It's a really great show to showcase a lot of the great work these folks are doing, but also open up momentum, right? Like draw in capital, draw in interest, more piloting opportunities, and allow these folks to tell a story. Everybody's a winner in this accelerator. You're building a journey and a story that helps drive the business, sustainability, and technology relationship. Again, we're live. We're launching the 3rd batch on Monday. If there's any questions, here's the URL. Happy to share them offline, as well as answer any questions. Feel free to reach out to me or any of the folks listed on that page for more information. Thank you.
Let me turn my camera back. Thank you so much, Niraj. This is outstanding. Thank you for describing this partnership between Techstars and the Nature Conservancy. And I think we can all agree that we need every one of these sharp entrepreneurs to help us solve the world's most pressing problems. And please don't forget to add questions to the chat window. We'll get to as many as we can at the end of the presentations. So with that, let me introduce our final speaker today. Dr. Mohammed Mustafa Hussain is a professor of electrical engineering and computer science at the University of California, Berkeley. Prior to joining UC Berkeley, Dr. Hussain was a founding professor of electrical and computer engineering at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. He has authored over 450 research papers and patents and has received 47 international awards, including Best Innovation Award, CES 2020, Edison Award 2020, and many, many others. His research has also been covered extensively in international media, including being featured by Scientific American as one of the top 10 world-changing ideas in 2014. Dr. Hussain received his PhD in electrical and computer engineering from the University of Texas at Austin in 2005. Dr. Hussain?
Yes. Hi, thank you. You can hear me, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me take over the presentation. Okay, so I will be talking about a product that came out of our research work, which has now bridged between the marine environment, the blue economy, and us. Well, if you look around us, then we would love to see the environment like this, that there is the pristine water and its inhabitants. And if we go to the forest, then we would like to see a forest like that. Unfortunately, the reality is quite different. This basically looks like that many of the coral reefs are completely destroyed, and many of the forests are nearly gone. And that's why protecting the environment is something that pretty much everyone agrees. There is some debate on how to protect it, but there is nearly no debate on the objective of protecting it. Okay, and from that perspective, if you look at that, nearly at about 3/4 of the earth is full of water, and that's where most of the inhabitants in this in earth, they basically they live there, and the depth varies, and obviously salinity varies. There are a lot of like temperature, the pH, many of the different things that in the marine environment, if we can monitor them, then we can have a grip on many of the interesting aspects of the marine environment, including but not limited to like the habitability, the global climate change, ocean current circulation and dynamics, all of this. And this is very important. If you read today's Bloomberg, then you will come across an article where they're showing that how the Arctic the change has impacted the today's a really rare kind of weather in Texas. Okay, so we have some time lag. That's why I'm taking time. So what happens is, if you go and would like to actually monitor the ocean environment, what you will see today is that there are bulky, heavy, expensive the equipments. Those are invasively attached to the marine species. But ideally, that their weight should be only 1% of the species which is carrying them. And because of this invasion, because of this bulkiness, these species, to understand that their normal maneuvering and movement becomes tricky, because they're not exactly behaving the way that as if they were free of all these invasive equipments. And that's the reason that we came up about like 3 to 4 years back with the concept. And the idea was that if we can actually make a wearable which can be accommodated on the animal with comfort, so that they can move freely. For that, we have to reduce the weight by about of 1/40th of today's lightest weight equipment. Performance over cost improvement needs to be at least 10 times. It has to be completely physically compliant or flexible, and we need to have one way or other the data processing ability. Why is that? If we can do that, then potentially we can monitor not only the beautiful coral reefs or whatever that is happening underneath the ocean. At the same time, you might remember multiple years back, Malaysian Airlines that was lost in the Indian Ocean, and it was never found conclusively. So these kind of species, they can go places where the man-made vehicles might not be able to go, and that's why, like, having such a skin might be helpful. So we first came up with this back in 2016. We came up with the idea, and then in 2018 we first published publicly, and we talked about that. So where we actually showed that we integrated a temperature sensor, which is based on the resistive principle, a pressure sensor, which is based on the capacity principle, as well as salinity measurement. And we did have a small the IC plus a battery, which is a coin cell battery. So what it actually allowed us to do, first of all, we now have a completely flexible tag system, which is very lightweight, and how much I will show you, and as well as it can do many of the interesting things that we wanted to do. So it becomes very comfortable. It's non-invasive because you can attach it using many non-invasive techniques. It has multi-sensory. It is ultra lightweight, and how much? It's 2.5 grams in water. It's very low cost, and it's also we did the biocompatible packaging in such a way that it's waterproof, but at the same time we do know that what can happen potentially with the biofouling, because we have conducted those kind of series of experiments. And we showed that we could actually continuously monitor the oceanic environment for 6 weeks at a depth of 2 kilometers. And you can see that what are the different species that actually go in different the depth, and the temperature varies, pressure varies, and that's why we do have the pressure sensing. So by measuring the pressure, we can also tell exactly what is the depth. We do have the salinity sensing, we do have the temperature sensing. We also included the pH monitor to understand whether the water quality is acidic or base. Here is something I want to actually show you that is quite interesting. So about approximately 2 years back, before the pandemic, National Geographic made an interesting piece about our work, and this is in Bahama, and these sharks are wild sharks, and these two people, they are friendly to them because they know them, and these wild sharks, they come back every day to this specific area for their feeding. It's not that they're fed by these two gentlemen, rather they're basically, they find out their own food. That's what I heard. But what is really happening here is you can see that they're using a glue like that you can find off the shelf, and then they're going to tag this specific shark. One of the interesting aspects of the whole thing that while they were doing it, so one of the gentlemen over here was essentially petting this shark, and that was quite interesting to me. More than that, but anyway, so they're going to tag, and then we will see that when it's being released, it actually goes, and at some point you will see that it's being dropped off. And why it was dropped off, why it's not like the letting it to carry, there are some of the issues that we have resolved, including adopting a design of which is essentially based on a wrist belt. But also at the same time, we have to realize that we have to some way fetch this device, because the underwater communication underwater to the surface level is yet to be done in a way that is practical for this kind of applications. We have now come up with some of the techniques, which is using an UAV that might potentially do the job. Here is a table which essentially shows that all the different tags or monitoring system that we can find off the shelf, and then compared the sensors. Here is the one that I was talking about, the marine skin, the size, height, weight. And here is something that while this actually corroborates with most advanced sensory system and equipment, this also shows that this is essentially very thin, and obviously it's also very lightweight. But more importantly, if you look very carefully, then you will see that based on the sampling rate, we actually have the tag deployment lifetime, depending on the batteries that we have used, is quite significant. Now you can ask me that what is really happening here, that they have 730, we do have 150, so 5 times better. But the truth is that they're doing the sampling at an interval of every 1 second. We are doing it at 5 milliseconds. So it means that we are generating more and more data compared to them. So this actually shows the competitiveness of the device. Anyway, to summarize, I would just like to actually say that this is the first ever skin for harsh environment. It is multifunctional, temperature, depth, salinity, pH recording. It's a scalable design, and we use low cost. How low cost, people have asked me. So each tag would cost us, if we are producing 1,000 of it, is approximately somewhere between 20 to 25, depending on the applications as well as the battery capacity. Comfortable and non-invasive. It is definitely lightweight and small footprint, 2 centimeter by 1 centimeter, and low power and long deployment time, even up to like 1 year. And we have done continuous functional testing at 2-kilometer depth for 6 weeks. So this is a bit old. Apart from that, I must say that this one actually received the Best Innovation Award last year in Consumer Electronics Show. We have been working on these now actually to have the seamless communication and those kind of things. And there are many other efforts being made on it's a multifaceted commercialization effort. Okay, so that's where I will conclude my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hussain. I know I was considering a career change until I saw those sharks. I'm like, I'm not so sure. But no, all kidding aside, really, thank you so much for this fascinating look at how technology can enable us to understand and ultimately protect marine life. Really, really fascinating. And so with that, let's turn to our Q&A. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure our audience did as well. And I am sure we have lots of questions. Let's start with, here's one for Niraj. How do you measure the impact of your program in terms of sustainability impact and your 4 focus areas?
That's a great loaded question. It is a complicated answer because impact evaluation, especially global organizations, lean heavily on self-reported data as well as publicly available surveyable data. We have an internal impact tech stack, as I would say. It's measured through a combination of metrics that way beyond my tech brain to explain, but they are ecosystem metrics, carbon metrics, as well as potential impact of studies like protection, doing actual statistical analysis of what would have happened if we didn't protect this land, or what would have happened if we didn't take this action. A lot of complicated work goes into kind of building that trajectory and story, but we lean on a centralized data governance strategy that we're standing up and doing more work on. A lot of reporting against metrics. There are specific outcomes that have been defined for the 4 pillars that we have. And it's a matter of figuring out how we lean on emerging tech, such as satellite imagery, sensors, a lot of other new ways of measuring transparently and with trust, carbon offsets of protecting land and water and our ecosystems. That's really the long answer, saying it's a complicated way of doing that, but we do that. We do lean on heavily on data and science-driven metrics.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Another question, here's one for Dr. Hussain. Are you commercializing bluefin? Oh, am I still on mute?
I'm sorry. Okay, yes, we do have the commercialization activities around the world. One is in New Zealand, one is in Japan, one is in Saudi Arabia, definitely, and the one is in Spain, one is in Norway, and one is in South Africa. And we haven't done anything yet in USA because there are some reasons behind that. But more importantly, I would say that the places where it's happening, they're deeply concerned about the oceanic environment, and that's why they're putting some resources onto this. Yes.
Excellent. And another question for you, Dr. Hussain. What results are you seeing from use of your marine monitoring technology?
A lot. I think, like, that there are many different stories that we have learned. One of those is, like, the understanding overall the oceanic environment far more like, accurately, as well as like the species, their movement, how that is happening. And one of the ideas about that, how to actually use it to protect and to conserve these species from any kind of foul acts. And I think, like, these are the ones. We do have some other activities which is involving the people who have some sort of disability, that when they're in the marine environment, that how we can actually help them to understand the surrounding of the people with some of the disabilities, and also like, the swimming pools, which are for the household application. Many of the houses, they have their own swimming pools, so to understand that, like, the water condition over there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Niraj, another question here for you. How does the Nature Conservancy select startups from the pool of applicants? Or I guess said another way, what are the characteristics of a strong startup team?
Yeah, I think, we partner very heavily with Techstars. They run a lot of these accelerators. So there's some startup metrics that kind of show us the structure of the team. Where are they in the product life cycle? Are they launched customers, learning they already have, learnings they're looking to have? And then focus in on our shared conservation agenda, which is basically more detailed around those 4 pillars that I mentioned. How well do these startups align with a specific stakeholder to enable and accelerate, assist their work? We tend to also look at emerging tech themes that we haven't thought of, which is an interesting hypothesis. Like BEX 360 was a great example. Blockchain, supply chain solution, which we traditionally wouldn't have even thought of experimenting with. They allow us to come in and think about a problem differently. It comes down to, with early stage companies and startups, theme is very important. Diversity, focus on the actual business value, and with conservation, with nonprofits, as you're familiar, Erica, it's how do you marry impact with business bottom line impact, is a very important dynamic. And so that's something we always look at as companies that are further along in that trajectory of unlocking the right impact enabled business model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree. That's a focus for us as well, is the triple bottom line of sustainability and then scale,
Yeah,
for sure.
great point.
Thank you for that. And but before I close the Q&A session, Dr. Hussein, there's a couple more questions that are geared towards kind of the technical aspects of how you communicate. You know, do you have to fetch the bluefin always, or can it seamlessly communicate? You know, and how do you ensure there's impermeability?
So we are currently, we have a technique which we have deployed, and we are seeing some results. So up to certain depth, not that much, although I must say like a meter or so, where we are using some of the LED lights, which depending on 1 or 0, the lights are being, color is being changed. And then there is on the surface level, a little over the water surface, a UAV follows. And whenever it sees the light, like, you know, if it is a green light, then it actually counts 1. If it sees a red light, then it counts 0. And then if there is yellow, then it means that there is no data collection at the point. So that is something that we have deployed, but it has its own limitation, because it's exactly that we need another UAV to follow, and there is no warranty that where this species, the free one, will go and how much power that the UAV will be able to have to follow it all along. There are techniques like sonar or like the iridium chips, which actually have been used for that kind of communication, but still underwater communication from water to the surface level seamlessly is a daunting task. So from that perspective, I would say that we have made progress 10%, where we need to still go 90%. And obviously, I'm pretty sure that one way or other, one day someone will solve this problem.
Fantastic, wonderful. Thank you both so much. With that, why don't we go ahead and advance to our upcoming webinars and Catalyst Awards slide. Terrific. Thank you, Sydney. And so most importantly, thank you. Thank you for attending today's webinar. Thank you especially to our presenters for their time and insights. We very much look forward to continuing these conversations with all of you. And don't forget to register for our upcoming webinars. In March, we will have a session looking at the intersection of technology and food security. And in April, we'll have some really fascinating examples of the uses of drones for conservation. And also, please consider submitting a nomination for GEC's Catalyst Award. I heard some great examples on the call today. We will have an esteemed panel of independent experts that will review the applications and recognize innovative technology that catalyzes sustainability globally. You can find more information about the nomination application process, the key dates, and so forth on our website. Just go to www.globalelectronicscouncil.org and click on Get Involved. And so with that, I think we're going to conclude a little bit early today since we were missing one speaker. But once again, we so appreciate your time and participation, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you, and have a great day.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.